What's up, bellas and bellas? It's your boy XXFierceBeast here, bringing you a new video on the channel. And today, I just want to clarify a few things. As you may know, I had stopped posting for a while, and I apologize for that. I got a little busy. This is more of like a hobby for me, but unfortunately, I will not upload any more Last of Us gameplay. I'm sorry if you really enjoyed it. It just when I started recording this, I didn't really have enough time to play the whole game, record, edit, all before the second one comes out. And well, if you're hoping I was going to play a second one, I apologize for that as well, because that won't be happening either. However, I'll have some pretty neat content in store for the future, but for the time being, I want to try something new out. I want to bring you guys some horror movie reviews. Now, it won't always be horror movies, but for the most time it will be. As some of you may know, I'm a huge horror fan, a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I like to try and scare myself, live life on the edge a little. Yeah. So, without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this new mini series that I'll be posting, and let's get right into it. So, the movie that we will be reviewing today is called Hush. It was made in March of 2016, and apparently it's based on a true event. Now, for this film being a low-budget film, around 1 million USD, it is intense, alright? It is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. Now, if you're expecting a lot of grotesque gore or just a bunch of jump scares, creepy figures, ghosts all over the place, this film is not for you. However, if you're looking for something that's going to keep you on your edge, give you goosebumps, I definitely 110% recommend this movie, alright? It was produced by Jason Blum and is directed by Mike Flanagan. It is on Netflix, so if you're not very stream tech savvy, I'm pretty sure you could find it on there. Anyhow, according to Google, 87% of people that watch this film have liked it, and IMDb gave it a 6.6 out of 10. Now, this seems a bit low, but IMDb is always really harsh with horror movies, and so given that statement, I can understand why they rated it so low. But I will be going through the pros and cons of this film later on in the video. But right now, I want to say why I like this movie so much. First of all, it's a slasher film. In my opinion, those are the best horror films because it's more realistic. And let's be real, nobody really believes in those paranormal ghost type bullshit along with those exorcism movies when they're just completely stupid. Honestly, even if it says based on a true story, let's be real, it's not, alright? I remember everyone had this big hype over Conjuring because it said, oh, it was based on the true story. Yeah, because someone really survived. First of all, someone had to survive that shit. Second of all, there's no way in hell anyone was possessed by a demon. Let's be real. If you believe that, you're just I don't know, you're just naive as fuck. That's all I can say. Look up because it says gullible on the ceiling. Now you're probably alright, what's so special about this robbery home invasion film? What makes it unique compared to every other simple slasher out there? Well, here's a twist. The main character in this film is deaf, and she lives alone in the woods. That's scary in itself. Right? Creates tension, and it's original. The best part about this is it takes place. All of the movie takes place in that one spot in her home, that blows my mind. How can you make it interesting if it takes place in the exact same setting? That's really impressive in my opinion. Now, I like to go and discuss the pros and cons of this film. I'll start with the pros because there's a lot more pros than there is cons. And some of the pros is, like I mentioned before, it's very original for the type of film. It wasn't cheesy or they didn't really focus too much on making the main character they didn't make the main character an easy target, nor did they make the main character someone who's overly overpowered and the bad guy has no chance. There's a high tension throughout the whole film. Like I said many times in this video, and I'm probably repeating myself right now, but throughout the whole time I was watching it, I had goosebumps, and I was in the edge of my seat. Right, I was it was just mind blowing. And in this film, you actually root for the hero. Now, hear me out when you say this. I'm not like watching all those other films. I'm like, yeah, let's go, everyone die. No, that's not what it is, right? What it is when you're watching other horror movie films, especially like slashers in general, the people that you're supposed to root for are so stupid. It's incredible how they can be so stupid. Like, I get it, right? It's not going to be a horror film if everyone is like overly intelligent and the film will end in 5 minutes. But when you're like running away from someone that's chasing you, and the killer behind you is walking because he's so confident in your stupidity that he can walk. That's just ridiculous, right? And then you have like that little like a little blonde girl that's like Miss Preppy that's running away, and like, no, don't chase me, and then she trips over a freaking rock. Oh, then yeah, nothing at all. I just sit there, I'm like, come on. Like, I just want to turn the film off. Like, there's no point. There's no tension. There's no like. It doesn't keep you on the edge of your seat. It doesn't give you goosebumps. Nothing. You're just like, all right, they had it coming. Like, what can I tell you? You're just stupid. Or, oh, what's that noise in the basement? Let me go check it out without any weapon or flashlight. Oh wait, my phone battery's dying. That's an even better idea to go and check it out, isn't it? No, this movie doesn't do that. The main character is intelligent, and even if she is intelligent, it's not. The killer is even more intelligent. Like they're trying to outwit each other. It's a constant battle of who can outplay one another. Next point on the list is the villain is a human. Now you're like, okay, no shit. Like, what did you expect? Well, no. I mean, look at stuff like Halloween and Friday the 13th. Halloween is by far my favorite horror movie film of all time. Right? I can't. It's undisputed, right? If you try to prove me wrong, like you're just wrong. Okay, that's it. Okay. That I'll leave that for another video because there's so much talk around that about that. But he is not human, right? Let's face it. Michael has been shot in the head, like in every film. In one film, she actually cuts Laurie Strode, the main character, in case you didn't know, cuts his head off, and yet he comes back alive. Like he's not human. There's a theory around that which I could discuss in the video. Anyhow, I'm digressing here. In this film, he's human. He bleeds, he hurts, and whatnot, which makes it realistic, which is way more entertaining, and it makes it scarier because it's something that could actually happen. Like someone could actually come into your home, and fuck shit up. That thought makes it scarier, makes it feel more real, which adds once again to the tension. That's why I said this film has a high tension. If you can't handle like, if your heart palpitates for like serious reasons, don't watch this movie. That's all I can tell you. Next point on my list, it's not over exaggerated. I might have brought this up in another point, but I'll say it again. When you're watching this film, or actually when you're watching any slasher or horror film, you'll see like the killer, the main character, gets like stabbed 50 times, and like he's bleeding all over the place, and like limping, and somehow even after she gets like attacked, or he gets attacked, I'm saying she because in this film it's a girl, but no matter how many times they get attacked, they're still able to run away and like jog at normal pace and keep going. Now, sure there's adrenaline, but adrenaline can only take you so far. Like, let's be real. If you survive two gunshots to your liver, I think you'd be running like Usain Bolt. No, in this film, not only do they keep like the fighting to a limited and like the injuries to a limited, but it really takes them into account. Like if she got stabbed in the arm, she got stabbed in the arm. She's not gonna like pick up a weapon and start like going WWE on him. No, she'll be injured and she'll have to like go and like patch it up or whatever. And so it's realistic. Next on my list, there's strong acting. Actually, these next 2 points I'm gonna build up are just bring up are just general for any film, not necessarily like horror, but in horror it really adds to the effect. And the first one I'm gonna talk about is strong acting. Oh my god, I have seen films where the acting is horrible. Like the acting seems like they got their degree or whatever from an improv class. Okay, and I'll tell you right now, not that there's anything against like British films, but if you see a British horror movie film, just turn it off. By far, those are the ones that have the worst acting. I don't know what it is about British films, but the acting is just horrible. Actually, there's a movie I watched recently. I forget the name right now, but I forgot it because it was just terrible. Like I don't want to watch it again. But the acting was atrocious. Like the main character was staring into the camera while she was talking, and she was pausing every few lines, like as if she was trying to like remember her lines, or she was like reading it. Like the cameraman was probably right next to the camera with like a wooden plank. That's how low budget it was, with a wooden plank next to the camera with like the lines written in a Sharpie, and she's like, "What's that word? Okay, all right." And then she says her sentence. Again, I'm digressing. But the point is, strong acting is key because it adds to the realism, and after all, that's what makes it scary. It adds to the realism. As for my last point on the pros, I want to stress how the sound effects in this film and the music made it 100 times better. Now, like I said, this is important for any film, and the greatest example of this is once again Halloween. Like John Carpenter's Halloween is so simple, but it gives you goosebumps every time. It's literally like 4 or 5 keys on the piano, if I'm not mistaken, and like the simplicity of it is just amazing. They did the exact same thing in this film. They kept the sound effects simple. There's no like big pots and pans clanging all over the place randomly to try and scare you. There's no like little like random thunders that strike in the middle of the film. Like, oh look, it's raining outside. This is bad. No, none of that bullshit. It's simple tones, simple sound effects, very down to the point. Nothing drastic, and that's perfect because not only does it not distract you from the tension in the film, but it adds to it because when there's too much things going on, you're not really focusing on what the film's talking about. You're just listening to the background, and then you're like, okay, what's happening now? Now this person's like getting attacked. Okay, but why is there a lightning sound effect? I don't know. Like, it doesn't go. But this film does a great job at keeping it simple and to the point because it focuses on tension, and it does a great job on that. I can't stress enough, but that's what makes a great film when you're always on the edge of your seat. You have goosebumps 24/7, and you never know what's coming. And I think I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm pretty sure I forgot to mention this in the point where I said you actually root for the hero, but I talked about how they one-up each other. That's great because like you don't know. Like the end of the film could have been her dying and the bad guy winning, or it could have been her beating the bad guy. Like I didn't know until the end of the film, and I'm not gonna spoil it for you because I really highly recommend you watch it. Even if you aren't a horror movie fan, it's not even something that's scary. It's scary because of the tension, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. So I highly recommend you watch it if you have some time on your hands and you don't know what to watch. Like I said before, it is on Netflix. But as I'm sure you're wondering, I've been praising this movie, but it got a 6.6 on IMDb. So like, why is that? At this point, I'd like to discuss the cons. Now, before I get into the cons, I want to say one thing. IMDb is really strict when it comes to any movie in general. Like, if you find a movie on IMDb that's rated between like 6.5 and like 7.5, generally it's like a good movie. And if anything above 7.5, well, if you haven't watched it yet and you're a movie fan, I don't know what to tell you. You're just missing out. But horror movies in general, they're usually between like 5.9. I'll give 5.9 as the cutoff, and like 7, because horror movies generally are just there to keep you on the edge of your seat, scare you a bit, and like I guess I would say the story maybe. There's like a backstory to it that helps, and that's actually one of my main cons. There's no jump scares, and there's no backstory. It's very minimal. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not just plain out random stuff. There's a point to it. There is like some backstory, but it's not enough. Like the killer she doesn't know him. There's no like grudge related. There's no like purpose to what he wants to do. He has no motive. He's just simply there because he wants to wreak havoc and he's crazy. Now, however, what I would like to do though, with all these cons, I would like to dispute why they're not that bad. Because personally, I think this movie deserves a higher rating. The flip side to there being no backstory is that it makes it scarier. That's actually one problem that I don't like about Halloween. I'm actually going to make a separate video after this about Halloween because I really like it. But the point is, because there's no backstory, in a way it makes it scarier. It's this random dude that just has a problem. Like, why are you doing this? Like, just live in peace. That actually makes it scarier in my opinion. In terms of the no jump scares, it is a con because I would like to get scared randomly, but considering the movie kept me on my toes throughout the whole time, and I didn't feel the need to have any jump scares. Maybe one or two would have been nice to throw me off, but it really wasn't necessary. But then again, if that's not your thing, if you're really into like being spooked out every 2 seconds, then this movie's probably not for you. However, if a movie has too many jump scares, it's just terrible in my opinion, because at one point you're like, okay, let me just put a timer for another 15 seconds, then I'll know when I'm going to get jump scared. Like, it's not worth it. Now, the last two cons that I have, because there's only 4 really, like I said, this movie's amazing. Last two are more of a suspense, and the other one is no follow-up. Alright, so I'll follow up with the first one. I don't know if you can really consider this as a con, but the fact that it's more of a suspense than a horror. But I'm gonna explain the thing like that I have against it. It's not really a big deal, but I'm pretty sure that they have it listed as a horror, but it's actually a suspense. So like that just got me a little bit on my nerves. I know it's really silly, but I had to come up with more than like 2 cons. It was like I can only think of 2 cons for this movie. Like that's how much I like it. So I just kind of just threw this one in here. Alright, so the last point on this list is that there's no follow-up. Now, I really don't understand how you can make... Don't get me wrong, I really love Friday the 13th and Halloween, but like, I don't understand how you can make 9 Halloween movies and 10 Friday the 13th movies on something about like a supernatural killer, but you can't make at least a remake or a part 2 on something as good as this that had so much potential. It just blows my mind. And honestly, if the director, if you're watching this, which I highly doubt, but if you are, it's 2020, man. It's 4 years. You had plenty of time to come up with ideas. Don't listen to IMDb. They're just a bunch of haters, alright? Your film was amazing, and I really want to see a sequel. So please, make my day. But other than that, I mean, that's just a shame. That's all I can say, and that's why I think that's why it's rated low, because there's no follow-up. The backstory is minimum. No jump scares, or maybe 1 or 2, if my memory serves me correct. And it's not. I mean, I can't even say it's a suspense, because that's not really a point. So really, it's just those 3, and the fact that IMDb is tough. Honestly, if it had more of the 3 things that I mentioned, it'd probably be easily an 8. What would I rate it? I would rate it an 8.5, because, like I said before, the fact that there's no backstory, it just doesn't really bother me too much. I mean, obviously I'd like to see more, but if they can give me one really good movie, I think that shouldn't matter. In terms of the backstory being minimum, that I could look past that, because, like I mentioned earlier, it could make it scarier in a way, and more of a suspense. I just threw that in there, honestly, so I can't really talk about that. And the jump scares are not a big deal. So you don't need jump scares if you got good tensions. So really, this should be like it's an easy 8.5 for me. And if you haven't watched it already, and you don't want to watch it based on what I've mentioned right now, I don't know what to tell you. You're just missing out on a great movie. But if you do want to watch it, the movie is called Hush. It was released in March 2016, and it is on Netflix, so you shouldn't have trouble finding it. Anyhow, I'll review on that. That was the first episode of Horror Movie Review on the movie Hush. Hope you bellows and bellows enjoyed. As always, like and subscribe to join the Bellow Nation. Peace out, everyone.